The scream echoed through the halls of the medical ship Mercy's flight. It wasn't human. It wasn't animal. It was something else. Something that should not exist. Dr. G.U. Park pressed her hands against her ears. But it did no good. The sound seemed to bypass her ears entirely and pierce directly into her brain. "How long has it been screaming?" she asked, raising her voice over the noise. Her assistant, Dr. Donga, checked his tablet. 17 hours, 12 minutes since we brought it aboard. Ji-yu nodded and took a deep breath. She had been asleep when the distress call came in. A small research vessel had been found drifting in deep space, its systems dead, its crew missing. "All except for one thing. Let me see it," she said. Donga looked uncertain. Captain Taewon said no one goes in without his okay. "I'm the head doctor on this ship," Ji-yu said, "and that sound is a patient in pain." The medical bay doors slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, behind 3 layers of energy barriers, was the source of the screaming. At first, Ji-yu couldn't make sense of what she was seeing. It looked like a person, or rather, parts of a person, constantly shifting and changing. Arms grew and withered away. Bones pushed through skin only to be covered again moments later. Faces. Human faces. Formed and collapsed like clay models left in the rain. And it screamed. Always it screamed. "What happened to it?" Ji-yu asked, moving closer to the barrier. "We don't know," Donga said, staying near the door. "The research. Ship's logs were damaged. We found it strapped to an examination table. The crew might have been experimenting on it." Ji-yu shook her head. "Or trying to help it." She stepped closer to the energy barrier, ignoring Donga's warning. The creature's movement changed. Though it continued to twist and reshape itself, it seemed to lean toward her, reaching out with a briefly formed hand before it melted back into the churning mass. "It reacts to you," Donga said, surprised. Ji-yu noticed it too. The closer she got, the more human-like the creature tried to become. And the screaming, it wasn't quieter exactly, but it changed tone. Less pain, more desperation. "It's trying to communicate," she said. The medical bay doors opened again. Captain Taewon Kim strode in, his face hard with anger and lack of sleep. "Dr. Park," he said, "I don't remember giving permission for you to be in here." "I don't remember asking for it," Ji-yu replied, not taking her eyes off the creature. "This is a medical issue, my area." Taewon moved beside her, keeping a safe distance from the barrier. "This thing is beyond our help. We've tried sedatives, pain blockers, nothing works. Its biology rewrites itself faster than our medicines can take effect." "So what's your plan?" Ji-yu asked, though she already knew the answer. Taewon's voice lowered. "We're 5 days from the nearest station. None of us can endure that sound for 5 more days. I've decided to jettison it into space." Ji-yu turned to him sharply. "You'd throw a patient into space?" "That's not a patient," Taewon said, pointing at the mass of twisting flesh. "That's a thing that cannot be helped. It's suffering, and it's making my crew suffer. My responsibility is to the living people on this ship." As they argued, neither noticed at first that the screaming had changed again. It rose and fell now in a pattern almost like speech. The creature pressed itself against the inside of the barrier, its form stabilizing just long enough to show a face. A man's face, eyes wide with pain and something else. Recognition. "It understands us," Ji-yu whispered. "All the more reason to end its suffering," Taewon said. "I've made my decision." Ji-yu stepped between him and the barrier. "Give me 2 weeks. 2 weeks of that noise? The crew would mutiny." "Then give me 2 days," she pressed. 2 days to find a way to help it, or at least quiet it." Taewon stared at her, then at the creature. Its face had collapsed again, but one hand remained pressed against the barrier, fingers splayed as if reaching for them. "One day," he said finally. "You have until this time tomorrow. If that thing is still screaming by then, I'm spacing it. That's final." He left and Donga followed, giving Ji-yu a concerned look. Alone with the creature, Jiyu pulled a chair close to the barrier. The screaming continued, but now she tried to listen to it differently. Not as noise, but as an attempt to speak through unimaginable pain. "I'm going to help you," she said to it. "But I need you to try to communicate with me. Can you understand what I'm saying?" The creature's form bulged and stretched. A hand formed again, pressing against the barrier where her own hand rested on the other side. "Good," Jiyu said, hope rising in her chest. "That's very good." She worked through the night. First, she analyzed the creature's ever-changing biology, looking for patterns in the chaos. She discovered that while its body constantly destroyed and rebuilt itself, there was a core, something like a heart or brain, that remained stable for a few seconds longer than the rest before changing. By morning, she had developed a theory. The creature's condition reminded her of certain human autoimmune diseases, where the body attacks itself. But in this case, it happened at an accelerated, impossible rate. She designed a treatment, nanobots programmed to synchronize with the creature's regeneration cycle, creating a stable window long enough to deliver medicine directly to its core. When Captain Taewon came to check on her progress, Jiyu was ready. "I need to lower the barrier," she told him. "Absolutely not," he said. "I can help it," Jiyu insisted, "but I need direct contact. The barrier interferes with my equipment." "It's too dangerous," Taewon argued. "We don't know what that thing is capable of." "It's in pain," Jiyu said firmly. "Pain makes any living thing dangerous, but I believe it's intelligent and wants our help." Before Taewon could stop her, Jiyu pressed the override code into the barrier controls. The energy field flickered and died. The creature's screaming grew louder. Its body stretched toward her, still changing but with more purpose now. Faces formed and dissolved, hands reached and melted away. "Jiyu, get back," Taewon shouted, drawing his weapon. But Jiyu stepped forward, her hands raised to show she meant no harm. "It's okay," she said to the creature. "We want to help you." The mass of shifting flesh paused, hovering before her. Then, slowly, it took shape. Not a perfect human form, but close, a man's body, though the skin rippled and changed color with each passing second. The face stabilized enough to show features, wide eyes, a straight nose, high cheekbones, and for just a moment, the screaming stopped. In the sudden, blessed silence, the creature spoke. One word in a voice rough from endless screaming, "Help." Then its form collapsed again, the agony too much to bear. The screaming resumed, but Jiyu had heard enough. She turned to Taewon, her eyes shining with tears and determination. "It spoke," she said. "It asked for help. Now I have to give it." "This is crazy," Dongha said, watching Jiyu prepare her equipment. "You're going to touch that thing?" Jiyu checked the syringe of nanobots one last time. "We've tried everything else. The medicine doesn't work fast enough before its body changes and rejects it." It had been 8 hours since the creature had spoken. 8 hours of more tests, more failed attempts to stop its pain. The screaming had continued, though it seemed to grow quieter when Jiyu was in the room. Captain Taewon had reluctantly given her more time, but his patience was running out. The crew was exhausted, some showing signs of mental stress from the constant noise. "The nanobots should create a temporary stable zone," Jiyu explained. "But I need to inject them directly into its core, the part that stays most stable, and I need to do it when that part is closest to the surface." "And how will you know when that is?" Dongha asked. Jiyu didn't answer. The truth was, she didn't know. She would have to watch and wait, and hope she could move fast enough when the moment came. She entered the containment room alone. The creature's mass twisted and churned, but as before, it seemed to reach toward her. The screaming changed tone, becoming almost like a question. "I'm going to try to help you," Jiyu said, approaching slowly. "I need you to try to stay still if you can." The creature's movements slowed. It couldn't become completely still. Its body wouldn't allow that, but it was trying. Jiyu moved closer, watching carefully. She needed to see the core, a small, dense area that her scans had detected at the center of the creature's mass. Minutes passed. Jiu stood perfectly still. Ready. Then she saw it. A brief flash of something solid, glowing faintly beneath the shifting flesh. She lunged forward, driving the syringe into the spot where she had seen the glow. The creature reacted instantly, its body surging around her arm, engulfing it up to the elbow. Donga shouted from outside the barrier, "Jiu!" But Jiu didn't pull away. She felt the syringe empty, felt the nanobots enter the creature's core. Then something else happened, something she hadn't expected. Images flashed through her mind. A ship, stars, a strange planet with 3 moons, a cave with walls that glowed like the creature's core, a man in a spacesuit, reaching out to touch the glowing wall. Pain. Endless, unbearable pain. Jiu gasped as the creature released her arm. She stumbled backward, her mind reeling from what she had seen. The creature was changing again, but differently now. Its movements were less chaotic, more purposeful. The screaming had stopped, replaced by a low, constant hum. "What happened?" Donga asked, his face pressed against the barrier. "Are you hurt?" Jiu shook her head, unable to speak. She wasn't hurt, but she felt different, connected, as if a door had opened between her mind and something else. "The treatment is working," she finally said. "The nanobots are stabilizing it." Over the next few hours, the change became more obvious. The creature's mass began to take a more consistent shape, humanoid with a head, torso, and limbs. The skin still shifted and changed color, but more slowly now, like waves rather than violent storms. Jiu didn't leave the containment room. She couldn't. Every time she tried to step away, the creature became agitated, its form beginning to break down again. Only her presence seemed to help it maintain its shape. "You need to rest," Taewon told her, when he came to check on them. "You've been in here for 12 hours. "I can't leave yet," Jiu said. "It needs me." Taewon looked at the creature, now recognizably human-shaped. "What is it?" "Not what," Jiu said. "Who? His name is Seokyun." "How do you know that?" Jiu touched her temple. "I saw things when I injected the nanobots. Memories, I think. His memories." Taewon frowned. "That's not possible. Neither is a body that constantly destroys and rebuilds itself," Jiu pointed out. "But he's real, and he was human once." Late that night, when the ship was quiet except for the soft hum coming from Seokyun, Jiu fell asleep in her chair, beside the containment field. She dreamed of the glowing cave again, saw through Seokyun's eyes as he and his crew discovered it. They had been explorers, she realized. Early human explorers, sent to map unknown systems. The glowing substance in the cave was alive somehow, ancient and hungry. It had consumed Seokyun's crew entirely. Only Seokyun had partially resisted, his unique genetic structure fighting against complete absorption. The result was the horror Jiu had first seen, a body caught between human and something else, unable to settle into either form. She woke, with a gasp, to find Seokyun standing over her. His form was almost completely stable now, though his skin still rippled with faint colors. His face was Asian, with strong features that might have been handsome before pain had marked them. "Jiu," he said, his voice rough but clear. She stood slowly, careful not to make any sudden movements. "You know my name." "I hear," he said, tapping his ear. "When you talk. And I see." He reached out slowly and touched her forehead with one finger. "You can see my thoughts?" Jiu asked. Seokyun shook his head. "Not thoughts. Feelings. Bright." He smiled, and for a moment his face was fully human. Warm. The door to the containment room slid open. Captain Taewon entered, followed by 2 security officers with weapons ready. "Step away from him, Doctor," Taewon ordered. "He's not dangerous," Jiu said, not moving. "We detected brain activity we can't explain," Taewon said. "Some kind of psychic connection between you two." That's too risky. Seokyun's form wavered, his skin beginning to shift more rapidly. The hum coming from him rose in pitch. You're scaring him, Ji-yu said. She turned to Seokyun and placed her hand on his arm. It's okay. They won't hurt you. At her touch, Seokyun stabilized again. He looked at her hand on his arm with wonder, as if he had never been touched gently before. How long? Seokyun asked suddenly. How long what? Ji-yu asked. How long have I been? He gestured at himself, unable to find the word. Ji-yu hesitated, remembering the images she had seen, the style of the spacesuits, the design of the ship. They were from the early days of human space exploration. I think about 300 years, she said gently. Seokyun closed his eyes, his face a mask of grief. All gone. Everyone. Yes, Ji-yu said. I'm sorry. Seokyun opened his eyes again, looking at Ji-yu's hand still resting on his arm. Not alone now. Taewon cleared his throat. This is touching, but we need to think practically. We're 3 days from the station. What happens when we get there? What do we tell them about him? We tell them the truth, Ji-yu said. He's a human who survived an encounter with something alien, something that changed him. And the psychic connection between you? Taewon asked. Ji-yu looked at Seokyun. She could feel him at the edge of her mind, not reading her thoughts, but aware of her emotions, just as she was becoming aware of his. I don't know, she admitted, but I think it's helping him heal, and I think he has a lot to tell us about what he found. Seokyun nodded, his expression grave. Danger, he said, still out there, waiting, hungry. A chill ran down Ji-yu's spine. She remembered the glowing substance in the cave, how it had reached for Seokyun and his crew. What danger? Taewon asked. Seokyun looked at him, then back at Ji-yu. He placed his hand over hers, and she felt a surge of fear and urgency. Show him, he said to Ji-yu, and suddenly she knew what he meant. The connection between them could be used to show others what Seokyun had experienced. What was still out there, waiting. This is too dangerous, Taewon said, pacing the meeting room. We don't know what this connection between you two really is. Ji-yu sat quietly at the table. Beside her, Seokyun remained perfectly still, his skin shifting with soft blues and greens. In the 24 hours since she had injected the nanobots, he had grown more stable, more human. His speech was still simple, but improving. It's not dangerous, Ji-yu insisted. It's a bridge. A way to understand what happened to him. Donga, who had been studying the medical scans, looked up. The nanobots are working, but not perfectly. His cells are still trying to change, just more slowly now. Can you fix it? Taewon asked. Donga shook his head. Not with what we have, on board. His biology is too complex. The alien substance changed him at a fundamental level. Seokyun suddenly raised his head, as if listening to something only he could hear. It knows, he said. Everyone turned to look at him. What knows? Ji-yu asked. The thing in the cave, Seokyun said, his voice stronger now. It knows I'm awake again, it will come. That's impossible, Taewon said. We're light years from where we found you. Seokyun touched his chest. Part of it is here, inside me, like seeds. Ji-yu felt a chill run through her. Through their connection, she sensed Seokyun's fear. And something else. A shadow at the edges of his mind watching. We need to remove it, she said. How? Donga asked. We can't even stabilize his normal cells completely. Ji-yu looked at her hands, then at Seokyun. The connection we have, she said slowly. It's helping him stay human. What if we strengthen it? Use my DNA as a template to remind his cells what they should be? That's not science, Taewon objected. That's mysticism. Actually, Donga said, it might work. The nanobots could carry DNA patterns, like a continuous transfusion of genetic information. It would require constant contact, Ji-yu said. My nervous system connected to his. No, Taewon said firmly. Absolutely not. The risk is too high. Seokyun's skin suddenly rippled violently, patches turning dark red and black. He doubled over in pain, a low moan escaping his lips. "It's getting stronger," he gasped. "The seed is growing." Ji-yu placed her hand on his back. At her touch, the dark patches receded slightly. "We don't have a choice," she said to Taewon. "If this alien substance is inside him and it's reaching out to whatever it came from, we need to stop it now." Taewon stared at them for a long moment, then nodded sharply. "Fine. But at the first sign of danger to you, Doctor, we terminate the procedure." The medical bay was transformed for the treatment. 2 beds were placed side by side with a complex web of monitors and tubes connecting them. Donga had worked through the night to reprogram the nanobots, making them carriers for Ji-yu's DNA. "This will take time," he explained as he prepared them both. "The nanobots have to replace the alien pattern with a human one cell by cell." "How long?" Ji-yu asked, lying down on her bed. "Hours," Donga said. "Maybe more." Seokyun lay on the other bed, his skin shifting between human tones and patches of strange colors. He looked at Ji-yu. "Thank you," he said simply. Ji-yu smiled. "Just stay with me, okay? Focus on my voice." The procedure began with Dongha inserting IVs into both their arms. The nanobots would travel from Ji-yu to Seokyun, carrying patterns from her cells to help stabilize his. "Now for the neural connection," Dongha said, placing small devices on their temples. "This will strengthen the link you already share." As the devices activated, Ji-yu gasped. Suddenly she could see through Seokyun's eyes, feel what he felt. The constant pain of a body trying to tear itself apart. The fear of something alien living inside him. And beneath it all, a deep loneliness that 300 years of isolation had created. "I'm here," she whispered, reaching across the space between their beds to take his hand. "I'm with you." The hours passed slowly. Ji-yu talked continuously, telling Seokyun about her life, about Earth as it was now, about the stars humans had reached since his time. Through their connection, she showed him images of cities, oceans, forests, all the beautiful things he had been missing. In return, she saw flashes of his life before, a childhood in a small town by the sea, training to become an explorer. The excitement of being chosen for the first deep space mission. The wonder of seeing new stars up close. And then the cave. The glowing substance that moved like it was alive. The screams of his crew as it consumed them. His own pain as it tried to take him too, but couldn't quite break down his unique genetic structure. "It wanted to use us," Seokyun's voice came, through the connection. "Use our bodies to travel, to spread." Like a virus, Ji-yu thought back. "Worse," came his reply. "A virus doesn't think, doesn't plan. This does." By the 6th hour, everyone in the medical bay could see the change. Seokyun's skin had stopped shifting colors. His features had settled into a permanent form, a man, in his 30s, with dark eyes and strong cheekbones. Only a faint opalescent sheen to his skin showed he was not entirely human. "It's working," Dongha said, checking the monitors. "His cells are stabilizing." But then Seokyun's body suddenly arched in pain. Dark veins appeared across his chest, spreading outward like cracks in glass. "What's happening?" Taewon demanded. "The alien substance is fighting back," Dongha said, frantically adjusting the flow of nanobots. "It's trying to protect itself." Through their connection, Ji-yu felt Seokyun's pain and his determination. He was fighting too, pushing back against the thing inside him. "More," Ji-yu gasped. "We need more contact." Before anyone could stop her, she pulled out her IV and moved from her bed to Seokyun's, placing her hands directly on his chest where the dark veins were spreading. "Ji-yu, no!" Dongha shouted. But it was too late. As her hands touched Seokyun's skin, a surge of energy passed between them. Ji-yu felt as if she were being pulled into him, her consciousness expanding to fill every cell in his body. She could see it now, the alien substance. It wasn't just inside him, it had become part of him, Tiny structures like black stars embedded in his cells, each one connected to the others, forming a network throughout his body. And at the center, something like a mind. Ancient, cold, hungry. It sensed her presence and recoiled. Her humanity was poison to it, her DNA a pattern it couldn't corrupt. Out, Jiyu thought at it. Get out of him. The alien mind pushed back, showing her images of worlds consumed, civilizations turned into carriers for its seeds. It had been traveling for millions of years, spreading across galaxies, but Jiyu pushed harder. She poured herself into Seokyun, her memories, her humanity, her will. Her hands on his chest grew hot, as if the nanobots were concentrating there, using her touch as a conduit. He is human, she insisted. He is Seokyun, and you can't have him. The alien presence shrieked in her mind, a sound like the screaming that had first led her to Seokyun, but fainter now, weaker. Then, suddenly, it was gone. Jiyu opened her eyes to find the entire medical team staring at her. She was still sitting on Seokyun's bed, her hands on his chest. The dark veins had disappeared. His skin was smooth, healthy, still with that slight opalescent sheen, but otherwise human. And most importantly, he was looking back at her, his eyes clear and aware. You did it, he said, his voice strong and steady. You drove it out. Jiyu smiled, suddenly exhausted. We did it, she corrected before collapsing across his chest. Jiyu opened her eyes to a dimly lit room. For a moment she couldn't remember where she was or what had happened. Then it all came flooding back. Seokyun, the treatment, the battle with the alien presence. She tried to sit up, but her body felt heavy, as if she had been asleep for a long time. Easy, came Dongha's voice from nearby. You've been out for almost a week. A week? Jiyu croaked, her throat dry. Dongha held a cup of water to her lips. 6 days, to be exact. You collapsed after the procedure with Seokyun. Your brain activity was off the charts, like you were dreaming nonstop. Where is he? She asked after drinking. In the next room. He refused to leave the medical bay while you were unconscious. Jiyu closed her eyes, reaching out with her mind. The connection was still there, but different now. Quieter. More like a gentle awareness than the intense link they had shared during the procedure. Through it, she could sense Seokyun's relief, that she was awake. He knows, she said, opening her eyes again. He knows I'm awake. Dongha nodded. The connection between you two didn't break. If anything, it's stronger now, though more controlled. The door slid open, and Seokyun stood. There, Jiyu barely recognized him. Gone was the shifting, unstable creature she had first encountered. In his place stood a tall, handsome man with dark hair and eyes. His skin still had that faint opalescent sheen, especially when the light caught it at certain angles. But otherwise, he looked completely human. Jiyu, he said, his voice clear and deep. No longer the halting speech of before, but full sentences. You're finally awake. He came to sit beside her bed, taking her hand in his. His touch sent a warm current through their connection. You look, she began, human again, he finished for her. Thanks to you. Dongha cleared his throat. I'll let Captain Taewon know you're awake. He left the room, giving them privacy. What happened? Jiyu asked. The last thing I remember is the alien presence leaving you. Seokyun's expression darkened. Not leaving. Not completely. He placed a hand on his chest. Some of it is still inside me, but changed. Your DNA, your humanity, rewrote it somehow. Is it dangerous? He shook his head. Not anymore. Not to me, at least. He hesitated. But the main entity, the one that transformed me, is still out there, and it knows what happened. Jiyu felt a chill. How do you know? Can feel it at the edge of my awareness, watching, waiting. He squeezed her hand. While you were unconscious, I told Captain Taewon everything I could remember about my mission, about the planet where we found the entity. They've sent a warning to Earth. Will it be enough? Jiyu asked. I don't know, Seo-kyun admitted. This thing has existed for millions of years, traveling between stars, consuming whole worlds. It's patient. They sat in silence for a moment. Through their connection, Ji-yu could feel Seo-kyun's worry, but also something else, a sense of wonder, of gratitude. What was it like, she asked, being trapped in that state for so long? Seo-kyun looked down at their joined hands. At first I was aware. I could feel my body destroying itself over and over. The pain was... He shook his head. There are no words. After a while, maybe years, maybe decades, my mind broke apart. I wasn't really conscious anymore, just screaming. And then I heard your voice. He looked up, his eyes shining with emotion, like light in darkness. Your voice pulled me back together, made me remember I was human. Captain Taewon entered the room, interrupting them. He looked tired, with new lines on his face. Dr. Park, he said with a nod. Good to see you awake. We're approaching the station. We'll dock in about 3 hours. What will happen to Seo-kyun? Ji-yu asked. Taewon's expression was unreadable. That's being discussed. Earth Command is very interested in what he knows about this alien entity, and in the changes to his biology. He's not a lab specimen, Ji-yu said sharply. No, Taewon agreed. But he's not exactly human anymore either. No offense, he added to Seo-kyun. None taken, Seo-kyun replied calmly. I understand your concerns. I have them myself. Through their connection, Ji-yu could feel that this was true. Seo-kyun was worried about what he had become, and what it might mean for those around him. There's something else, Taewon said. Something you should both know. He hesitated. The station has detected an anomaly in space, about 2 light-years from our position, something moving toward the populated systems. Seo-kyun stood up. It's coming, he said. The entity. It's following the connection to the part of itself that's still inside me. How is that possible? Taewon asked. Even at maximum speed, it would take years to reach us. It doesn't travel like we do, Seo-kyun explained. It moves through space in ways we don't understand, folding distances. Ji-yu struggled to sit up. How long do we have? Days, maybe, Seo-kyun said. Perhaps less. Taewon's face paled. The station isn't equipped to handle a threat like this. None of our outposts are. Then we need to find a way to stop it, Ji-yu said. How? Taewon asked. From what Seo-kyun has told us, this thing has consumed entire civilizations. Seo-kyun touched his chest, where the remnants of the entity still lived inside him. Maybe I can use this against it. Ji-yu felt his intention through their connection and grabbed his arm. No, it's too dangerous. What are you suggesting? Taewon asked Seo-kyun. The piece inside me is connected to the whole. If I can poison that connection somehow. Seo-kyun looked at Ji-yu. Your DNA changed the part inside me, made it human. Again. What if we could do the same to the rest? That would require direct contact with the entity, Ji-yu said. It would kill you. I can't die, Seo-kyun reminded her with a grim smile. Remember? In the hours before they reached the station, Ji-yu and Dong-ha worked frantically. If Seo-kyun was right, they had very little time to prepare. The idea was desperate, but it was all they had. The nanobots need to be reprogrammed, Dong-ha explained as they worked. Instead of just carrying your DNA pattern, they need to actively convert the alien structure to a human one. Will it be enough? Ji-yu asked. I don't know, Dong-ha admitted. This entity is vast from what Seo-kyun has told us. The nanobots would need to replicate exponentially. Seo-kyun joined them, having spent time with the ship's engineers. I think I have a way to deliver the nanobots, he said. A ship. Small, fast. You mean a suicide mission? Ji-yu said. Seo-kyun took her hands. My crew died because of this thing. 300 years ago, I failed to stop it. I won't fail again. Through their connection, Ji-yu felt his determination and his fear. Not fear for himself, but for her. For everyone. "I'm coming with you," she said. "No," Seokyun and Taewon said at the same time. "The connection between us makes the nanobots work," Ji-yu insisted. "Without me, they'll fail." "It's too dangerous," Taewon argued. "Everything's dangerous," Ji-yu said. "But without this, we all die anyway." Seokyun looked at her, his expression torn between desire for her safety and acknowledgement of the truth in her words. "If we do this," he said slowly, "we might not come back." Ji-yu squeezed his hands. Through their connection, she sent him her certainty, her resolve. "I know," she said. As the ship docked at the station, alerts were already sounding. The anomaly had accelerated, somehow crossing a light year in mere hours. It would reach them by morning. There was no more time for debate. The mission was approved, the small ship prepared. As Ji-yu and Seokyun made ready to depart, Donga gave them each a final injection of enhanced nanobots. "Remember," he said, "they need to reach the core of the entity." "We'll find it," Seokyun promised. Ji-yu looked back at the Mercy's flight as their small ship pulled away. It seemed strange that only days ago she had been a simple doctor, and Seokyun had been a screaming creature no one believed could be saved. Now they were humanity's last hope against an ancient terror from the HFY stars. The small ship moved silently through space. Through the viewport, Ji-yu could see it, the entity. It didn't look like a ship or any natural space phenomenon she knew. It was darkness shaped like a storm cloud, with flashes of strange light pulsing within it. "It's beautiful in a way," she said quietly. Beside her, Seokyun shook his head. "Don't let it fool you. That beauty is how it lures things in." Their ship's instruments were going crazy, unable to make sense of what they were seeing. The entity didn't appear on radar or any other scanners, yet they could see it clearly with their eyes. "How close do we need to get?" Ji-yu asked. "Too close," Seokyun replied grimly. He looked at her, his eyes reflecting the strange lights from outside. "You can still turn back. The station has escape ships ready." Ji-yu took his hand. Through their connection, she let him feel her determination. "I'm not leaving you." As they drew closer, the darkness seemed to notice them. Tendrils of shadow reached out like curious fingers testing the space around their ship. "It senses the part of itself inside me," Seokyun said. "It's happy. It thinks I'm bringing it a gift." "Me?" Ji-yu asked. "All of humanity. It's been waiting to find us for a long time." The ship's engine suddenly died. The lights flickered and went out, leaving them in darkness lit only by the pulsing glow from the entity outside. "It's pulling us in," Seokyun said. "This is it." They had known this would happen. The plan was to let the entity take them, to get as close to its core as possible before releasing the nanobots. Ji-yu checked the injector strapped to her arm. It contained billions of the reprogrammed nanobots, ready to spread through the entity and change it from within. "Remember," she said, "we need to stay connected. The nanobots need both of us to work." Seokyun nodded and took her hands in his. "No matter what happens, don't let go." The darkness enveloped their ship. The hull creaked and groaned as if under enormous pressure. Then, with a terrible screech of metal, the ship broke apart around them. They should have died instantly, exposed to the vacuum of space. But they didn't. Instead, they floated in the darkness, still holding hands, still breathing somehow. "It's creating an environment for us," Seokyun explained, his voice sounding strange in the not-quite air around them. "It wants to examine us before it consumes us." The darkness parted, revealing a space like a vast chamber. The walls pulsed with the same strange light they had seen from outside. And at the center was a swirling mass of energy, the core. "There," Seokyun said, pointing. "That's where we need to go." They pushed themselves forward, floating through the chamber. All around them the walls rippled and shifted, forming shapes that almost looked like faces. Curious, hungry faces. "It's watching us," Ji-yu whispered. As they neared the core, the entity finally spoke to them, not in words but in images and feelings that flooded their minds through the connection they shared. Ji-yu saw worlds consumed, civilizations absorbed, knowledge gathered across millions of years. The entity wasn't evil, she realized. It was simply hungry, eternally, insatiably hungry for new experiences, new forms of life to add to itself. It's so old, she said. So lonely. Don't feel sorry for it, Seokyun warned. That's how it tricks you. They were close to the core now. The swirling energy reached out to them with tendrils of light. Welcome home, lost piece, came the thought from the entity to Seokyun. Bring your new friend to join us. Seokyun's grip on Ji-yu's hands tightened. Now, he said. Ji-yu activated the injector on her arm. The nanobots flowed into her bloodstream, then through their joined hands into Seokyun. His skin began to glow as the nanobots multiplied, feeding on the changed alien substance still inside him. My turn, he said. Before Ji-yu could stop him, Seokyun pulled away from her and flew directly into the swirling core. Seokyun, she screamed. The entity reacted instantly. The chamber shook violently as the core flared with blinding light. Through their connection, Ji-yu felt Seokyun's pain and his triumph. The nanobots were spreading from him into the entity, carrying the pattern of humanity with them. What is this? The entity's thoughts were confused, then alarmed. What are you doing? Ji-yu pushed herself toward the core, toward Seokyun. She could still feel him, still sense his consciousness, but it was fading as the nanobots used his body as their delivery system. I'm coming, she called to him. Stay back, came his reply through their connection. It's working, but I don't know what will happen next. The core was changing color, the swirling energies turning from alien hues to more human ones, reds and golds like blood and sunlight. The walls of the chamber were changing too, the hungry. Faces replaced by patterns that looked almost like DNA strands. Then Ji-yu felt it, the entity's attention turning to her. Not with hunger now, but with confusion and growing alarm. What have you done to me? It asked. I can't consume anymore. I can't. The core suddenly exploded outward in a wave of energy. Ji-yu was thrown backward away from Seokyun, away from the changed core. The last thing she felt through their connection was his love and his goodbye. Ji-yu woke to the sound of alarms. She was in a rescue pod, floating in space. Through the small window she could see the station in the distance, lights blinking as ships moved around it. And where the entity had been was something new, a swirling nebula of colors, beautiful and harmless. We picked up your emergency beacon, came Captain Taewon's voice over the comm. Are you all right? What happened to the entity? Where's Seokyun? Ji-yu touched the window, looking at the nebula. The entity is gone, she said. The nanobots changed. It made it human, in a way. And Seokyun, her voice broke. I'm sorry, Taewon said softly. Don't be, Ji-yu said. He's not gone. Not completely. Because she could still feel him, faintly. Not as a separate mind connected to hers, but as a presence woven through the new nebula. The nanobots had used his changed biology as their template, spreading his consciousness throughout the entity as they transformed it. He wasn't human anymore. But he wasn't the entity either. He had become something new, something that would never again hunger for worlds to consume. 3 months later, Ji-yu stood in the observation dome of the research station that now orbited the nebula. Scientists from all over human space had come to study it, fascinated by its unique properties. It produced energy unlike anything they had seen before, energy that could potentially power ships and stations for centuries. But Ji-yu wasn't there for the science. She came every day to place her hands against the clear dome and feel the faint connection that still existed between her and what Seokyun had become. They want to name it after you, said Donga, who had joined the research team. The Ji-yu Nebula. She shook her head. Name it after him. The Seokyun Nebula. What do you feel when you touch the glass? Donga asked. He had asked before, but Never gotten a full answer. This time, Jiyu smiled. Dreams, she said. He dreams out there. And in his dreams, he's human again. Whole. Healed. She looked at her hands pressed against the dome. And he dreams of these, the hands that stopped. His pain. Beyond the glass, the nebula shifted and swirled, a tendril of light reaching out to touch the dome exactly where her hands rested. They want you to join a new mission, Donga said after a moment. There are other entities out there similar to what this one was. They think you might be able to help change them too. Jiyu nodded. She had known this was coming. I'll go, she said. He would want me to. The nebula pulsed with light, as if in agreement. Jiyu smiled and whispered to the glass, Don't worry. I'll come back. I'll always come back to you. In the vastness of space, the nebula that had once been a screaming, dying creature, and before that, a lonely entity that consumed worlds, glowed warmly in response to her promise. It no longer screamed. It no longer hungered. It only dreamed of her. Hands, and through those dreams, remembered what it meant to be human.